All right, it is recording.
All right, I got it. Okay, so um, this is the professor interview instructions. It's a part of my first final project uh, for my course in educating the college student. And this part of it, the professor interview is to seek information about specific strategies that help college students manage their time, their life, and their studies. Their time, their life, and their studies. Um, so I have your name and you're at Clovis Community College.
Yes.
What courses do you currently teach?
Information systems, computer science, and used to teach some of the ed, but I don't do that anymore. It's just I turned it over to another person. It was easier, so I could focus on the information systems.
Number of years as a college professor?
25,
Oh
going
my,
on 26, 34 years total as a teacher.
oh my gosh.
Don't say that, I
It's not
feel old already.
possible. It's not possible. And then I'll go through and describe our relationship
There you go.
later. Um, I would just say, I mean, we're lifelong family friends, right?
Yeah, we've been together forever, right?
All right. So question one, what is your educational and career background and how does it contribute to your effectiveness as an instructor?
My background is in elementary ed. That's the funny part is, and I think it contributes more than if I would have had just a full-on college degree and came in. And then the high school experience was very good, but it's helped me at the community college level because those kids are walking in with I can't do it attitude, and so I've been there, I've done that. I know how to nurture. I'm not just a lecturer, and that's the community college way. I do more than lecture. I assist with them. And I've learned that through my past and my education. I mean, all I wanted to be was a football coach. And it really, it happened for about 30 years. I wanted to coach PE. That was it. I never coached PE. So maybe in my next life.
Hey, I have the toddler cheerleaders now at church.
Oh, there you go.
I
There you
never
go.
thought I would do that, but they are hilarious and I love them. So there might be Pop Warner in your future.
Oh, I've done Pop Warner too, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go.
I did about every one of my boys. I coached their teams. I don't think any grandkids I will do that though.
Oh, I don't know. That my boys learn more from their grandpa.
Exactly. Maybe. I don't know.
So
But it's hard when you're coaching with students that you had and players that you had when you were coaching many years ago. So it's like, it's your turn. I'll let you do it.
all right, question two. How do you plan your instruction so that effective dialogues are attainable as a result of strategic questioning and discussion points?
So basically, what you're asking, I'm looking. We have a lot of learning objectives and course outcomes. So I think that's what you're getting at. How am I achieving my goals through my course outline and my student learning objectives
And dialogues.
and dialogues with the students? Um, Only half of my classes are face to face now, and I do enjoy those because I miss that dialogue. The rest are online, and I have to do that in a different way online than I do face to face. If I strategically look at I've taught it for so long and I've changed it so many times that I realize that I attack through conversation. I discuss through conversation. So I'm moving everything towards the student and where they are and where I need to take them. Not they need to come to me. I need to come to them, figure out who they are, and then I move in to my subject through that. That's how I'm looking at it. And again, my SLOs and my we call them student learning outcomes and my course objectives are so ingrained in me. I could will probably be like my last words when I die is like this, and this. So I know where I'm going. And I didn't know when I started, and that was the hard thing. But I look at the class, I've got to find out what's going on, and I strategically look. There's all types of students in a community college class. So I have to blend with them until I can get into them. I have two students that are working at movie theaters. I know that. So some of my topics are, hey, what are you doing with technology? What's happening to the industry? I know where I'm going because in chapter 4, we're going to talk about the new technologies.
Mm.
But I have to start out with that. Because if I just throw it out there, they're going to be like, I don't know. This is an old guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So there you go.
So it's not on my list.
If I missed anything,
No, yeah, it's not on my list, but it just leads me to a follow-up, which is, so how much time in the first of the semester do you spend on building relationships instead of content?
gosh, I had an evaluation from my dean, a new dean, because I get a new dean every 3 years. So it's like a new show every time they come in because I get evaluated every 3 years. And this dean pointed out, I like her a lot. And she said, she goes, everything you do teaches through conversation and stories. And I never thought about it, but that's kind of what I do. So they have to build up the relationship for me. So what I do in a community college, I mean, we're 18 weeks. Most colleges are 16 weeks. So in my mind, I have 2 extra weeks to work with my students. So it starts out with getting to know them the first 2 weeks because they don't have their books. They're walking in. I don't know where the book is, where it's conversation. And so everything is doing, some of it is busy work, but the busy work is so I can see their skill levels. I might be having them do this project and that's cool. Cause I know the first week I'm going to take them through HTML and some computer stuff that's fun. It's not hard. They can look on there, they can start talking to people, but at the same time, I see their computer skills. I get to know who they are. And I usually walk around the room going, my key is here's my question. Hey, where do you work? And I get to know who they are outside the classroom because that's the big deal.
Yeah.
I came from the community college. I didn't know why I was at a community college when I went to school there. I was just there because that's what we did. And I'm trying to get them the why. And this generation they want to work. So I get that. I can't tell them, according to the Carnegie unit, you're supposed to be this many hours out of school doing homework. That it's not going to fly with them. So I have to see where they are, and then I can talk with them. When they start disappearing, I'll go, hey, how's work? Well, it's kind of hard, Mr. Neighbors. There we go. So there is a lot of time at the beginning. It's front loaded. And then after that, it pretty much goes pretty quick. If I start losing my memory, I can't remember all of my students in my class, and where they work, then I'm in trouble.
So then I think you answered. I mean, number 3 was, how do you ensure the classroom learning environment is welcoming to all students, safe from judgment, free for exploring the subject matter, and face-to-face or online? You got half and half. So you talked to them really in person, but how do you do that online?
Well, online, you know what? Most of mine's, they don't have Zoom meetings, and a lot of it is through written communication, and it's all stated in there. And I jump in there pretty quick. But what we are missing in education, in face-to-face, they don't want to talk because they would rather be on their electronic devices because they don't know how to really do that. But online, there isn't that communication level. I don't care what I do. I mean, I have prompts. I do everything. I do Zooms, and I can't make them turn their backgrounds on because it's in their privacy. They don't want, you can't do that. So I see blank screens. So it gets hard. The fun thing is, here's the fun thing. As a family, we go on vacation, especially during the summers, and I get these people staring at me going, and I always turn to my wife and I said, either we're in trouble or that's one of my online students because I don't know who they are. And 9 times out of 10, they come up, they go, you don't know me. I've been in your online class. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, great to meet you.
I have my LL bubble going on.
My wife was ready to hit to the car. I'm like, you don't have to run. That's one of my students. But for a teacher, for me, we miss out by not having that type of communication in a face-to-face environment.
Yeah. Question 4, what strategies do you find particularly useful in enhancing student motivation?
Well, since COVID, our students at the community college level in California have really population dropped. They just went away. The CSUs and UCs have dropped the requirement for GPA. So what happens is our top of the notch students are flooding into the CSUs right now. We don't even see them. The regular population we used to have the community college. So what we're getting is the students that have no motivation.
Yeah.
And now we were talking motivation, right? I
Yeah.
got a dog in here grouching at me, but I had a prisoner that had spent 17 years in Pelican Bay. I say this because I didn't even know where Pelican Bay is.
Wow.
I had to build him up. And that's what the community college is. It's those kids that you got to build up. And there's all sorts. He was from Pelican Bay. I had students that were just out of high school. And I have students that are like, I can't do this. I'm here because of my mom. I had two that had drug problems and they told me. So to motivate them, I tried my best. And what I have to do is get to know each individual and motivate them, but I have to motivate them eventually together. And then they start talking, and because right now they come in all cohesive. I mean, it's like all over the place, like a herding cats. But if I can get them to sit for a little bit and become a little community, that's when I can start motivating. If I don't get them into a community, it's not going to be very successful.
Yeah.
That's me. And that's an old guy.
How do you support students who are failing in a manner that promotes learning?
Um, I'm always, the first thing I do when I come to class, luckily I'm in a computer class and they're all in front of me and I try not to have the monitors block them. The first thing I do, I always look at Canvas, even for my face-to-face class. I'm thinking, okay, who has this test done? Who has this homework assignment done? Who has that? And I learned it from an old teacher who retired and was my teacher at high school. And he went to the community college. And one of the reasons I went to community colleges was because of him, Bill Allen. And I'll say it, if you know him, probably somebody in National University or Liberty University knows him. My kids took his class and, on the homework, when he handed it back, he'd go, "Hey, Hannah, I noticed you had problems on number 7. Do you want to talk? Want some help on that?" I mean, he would do that to everybody. He knew what their homework they were deficient in. And so I know in that class, I can go up to Edgar and say, "Hey, Edgar, you didn't, you struggled on this lab assignment. Anything I can do."
Yeah.
And that's step one. Online students, you got to email them. You got to put a carrot out there for them responding. You know what? People hate this, but it's happening, especially in some of the rules with the community colleges. I don't tell them my makeup policy. My makeup policy is stated in my syllabus pretty sternly. It's like, you're not going to do this. There's no makeups. But I start reaching out to those kids. Eventually, go, hey, you know what? I keep all my tests on behind. There's a due date. It drops dead, so
Yeah.
they think it's over. But if they went in, they asked me, I'm extending that time because, gosh, it's a different time we're living in. And I do realize that. And I'm trying to help them to the finish line without carrying them. That's one thing I will not do, is carry them.
Yeah.
But I try to motivate them. It's emails because that's all I can do. I say, hey, call me this, or I said, there's little things I can do to get them to come in. I've got a concern about some homework. Can you call me? It might not have been a big concern, but then I'm getting, like in this situation, I'm on a Zoom meeting with them talking, and it's much different. They view me differently the second they talk with me. So there you
Well,
go.
I love it that you reach out to them instead of them having to reach out to you, because it's hard.
Well, the business is changing as well. And I don't do it for the business aspect of it. We need to keep kids enrolled. We're at that point is you don't have enrollment, you don't have a job, you don't have numbers. That's not where I'm at. What I'm at is I want to keep kids in there. So I'm going to reach out to them. I'm just not going to let them fall off.
Yeah.
When I first started 25 years ago, a teacher who'd been there for a while said, hey, you know what? Sometimes kids just need to go drive a pizza truck for a while and they'll come back. And I thought about that because that is life. They would, back in the early days, they would, I'm not ready for college. They'd go away and then they'd come back. Well, that's not happening anymore. And that philosophy just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I've had to change some of my philosophies about, I just say, don't drive the pizza truck so many hours so that you can go to school.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So you're gonna love this one. What technology skills do students need in order to be successful? And how do you specifically promote and incorporate that in your classroom?
Well, and that's the biggie, because I always talk about this. Everything they do know about technology is going to get them fired in the workplace. They know how to tweet, they know how to Twitter, they know how to, when they get bored, they do this. And I never talk to them about their phone, but here's what they need. My advisory committee always tells me, They need to be able to relate to other people in a business environment first. So they're struggling with that. But in the technology side is Excel, 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 the program Excel or spreadsheets. Because if they don't know how to do it to make decisions, everybody's making decisions on data.
Mhm.
And part of my class is I'm teaching a word, not word, but I'm teaching them how to a word processor, spreadsheets and databases and PowerPoints or display stuff, whatever format you want to use. They all get to the word processing part or the word, and this is easy. I've done it since elementary school. I said, great. And that's always the smallest part of my class, because then we jump into Excel and we start talking about pivotal tables, and their eyes start rolling back in their head.
Oh yeah.
And then I have to peel it back, and what I do is, I love this project, is I do a budget with them, and I talk to them about budgeting, and I bring in my spreadsheet, because I said, when I got married 34 years ago, my mom said, here, go do life. And they had these Mac computers, and I did a spreadsheet, and I bring that one in. And every year I've done that. I roll that spreadsheet over, and it's gotten nicer and better and more buttons and more things that say
More
pay for college,
formulas and
everything. But I show them the first one, and I talk about it, and it has something like Gottschalk's, which is a store that doesn't exist anymore, and what we do is we build one in class. So we build one real quick, and we talk about it. And then I go, well, how much money do you want to make to live off this? Well, I want to do this. And so what we're doing is, I set a budget up. Then I look at their money income, and then they can make a decision, because all of a sudden it happens. We do the budget first. How much do you want for your car payment? How much do you want for your apartment? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we go like this and say, okay, now we got to do your income. And they realize that they don't make enough money to afford their lifestyle. And when I said, stop, what do? We just made decisions based upon data. That's what we're talking about. And that's where we're going. Decision making off of data. Word processing. You can do that. It's not that tough. But Excel or spreadsheets and a database, we go long term into a database, and they're like, what is a database? 5% of the kids coming out know what a database is. And that's crazy, because they're going to go in a world where there's a lot of databases, or you're going to interface with a database.
yeah,
So that's what I think is a biggie.
yeah. How do you stay knowledgeable about current trends and issues in college education? How do you implement those strategies?
Well, they do pay for a lot of conferencing. And I do go to those. It's been a real struggle since the pandemic to even to get anywhere. And, in California, we can only go to certain states for conferences. Our district will not pay for any conferences in certain states that are deemed non-go-to states. Like if everybody goes to Florida, all the conferences are in Florida and Texas and stuff like that. So you got to be real creative of where you go to a conference. You got to be careful about the pendulum. There's theories that are coming back into community college that were there when I first started. And so as you see it going, you've got to be able to weed through of what you think is going to stick around. You got to stay away from being the old buffalo, and you got to be open to new ideas and how it can fit into your world. But that's the current way. And, I love my field. I love technology. I'm in it just for fun. And, to pay me, it's even better. So I think that side is current, but to stay current in education, I think bottom line is I immersed myself, but also having my kids in education. I've been my kids, five kids have been their college counselor as well. So I kind of know the ins and outs.
How many years have your kids been in college?
One started in 2014. Hannah started in 2014, and now Jack's going to be a junior this year. So, and I still have 3 more years until Toby heads that way. So I can't give you a final total, but I do know that the general ed requirement has
16 years, maybe 18 years.
The general ed requirement has changed a lot since the first one in the GE.
Oh my goodness.
So
what have you enjoyed most about teaching college at the college level?
The kids. You don't have the camaraderie of the K-12. I do miss that in the K-12. Hanging out with your fellow teachers. You knew your fellow teachers' lives. They became your best friends. At a college level, you might not have your same subject matter teacher. You might not ever see them because they teach at different times or different places. you might share an office, but I had an office mate. I was always so surprised when I saw them because as you can tell, I'm a talker, and we would just talk for hours. And he's like, "Well, tell me when you're going to be in the office," because he was very quiet. And I noticed that his office hours would change a little bit so that he could get his work done and not be in there at the same time. But I'm here for the students. I want to see them succeed. And I love, 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 love when I walk into a business and they're working there someplace. I mean, that gives me satisfaction. If I'm not in it to get them placed into a successful workplace or be a successful person, if they do, they might not choose to go into the workplace. But if they're a successful person, all of a sudden they're introducing their kids and they're saying, "Look at here, this, right after I got out of your class, Mr. Neighbors, such and such was born." And then, oh, great. That's what I like. And that's why I keep doing it every day.
What are the challenges you've experienced teaching at college? And what supports have been most helpful in addressing those challenges?
The hardest is the population change of the students, the demographics, the attitudes, and it's flowing from the high school. Because I will tell you, I learn from my kids that are in school now, and I know my youngest does zero homework, and I worry about it and I get that that's what's kind of going on in the high school, and he can remake every math test and every chemistry test up. He can redo it up to 3 times and da 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 da. And that wasn't the case for my early students, my own children at the beginning. And so I'm like, "You're not doing your work." And that's my dad face. "You got to get your stuff done. You got homework. Da, 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 da." And I look at his grades, he's getting an A. So I'm really reflecting on that. And that's the struggle is if I put a time or a due date, it's my fault or their fault if they miss it, because they're coming to me as freshmen and they're coming out of schools that are, distinguished schools, but they don't understand the due dates or the timelines and that has been the real struggle. And trying to, if I did not have children and I was still teaching this long, I'd be like, "What is wrong with these kids coming out of high school?" But I get it. It's the product they grew up in. And you added something to that question, and I know I missed it, but
Yeah, what kinds of supports do you think are most helpful when you are addressing challenges?
um, you got to understand in the K-12 in the community college, there's not a lot of support for professors. Usually if you get to the 4 year, the higher end, um, they love their subject so much, and you just better catch on because this is my love and get on the magic carpet because here we go. When they really don't, I don't want to say this, they don't care about the students, but they care about their subject more than they do about the person, the bottoms in the seat. So there is not a lot of resources for teachers to go. And I feel sorry for the young ones to come in. So I always go and talk with them. I talk with the younger teachers. So hopefully, my mentor, I mentioned Bill Allen. There's a whole bunch of them that listed that were my mentors. And I go pick their brains. And I think the best thing in the community college, at least where I'm at, is pairing up with a seasoned, I guess that's a seasoned teacher, and pick their brains, because every kind of development I go to, I got to hold your breath, because if I see 2 years of the same topic, maybe we're going that way. But sometimes it's like, "Hey, I need to put a staff development together, and here's a good topic. Could you run in and talk about it?"
Mm.
And it might be good, but you never hear about it again. Is this what we're going to work as a team? We do not have a single focus push. You go to a K-12 and it's like, "Okay, everybody, we're going to do this."
Yeah.
There's none. So for me, the best has been support from older faculty or seasoned faculty.
Yeah. If I were to be a first year professor next year, what advice would you give me?
Um, First, I would give you, that's what I did. I started this little thing. You got to learn the system, because the system is like, we throw you into the classroom and say, "Teach, teach, teach." But that's not really in a college model, at least where I teach, is the most. You could be a great teacher, but not get your grades turned in right, not know the computer programs that you got to run, not know how to add students and drop students, not know about the census date. And they're gonna say that, this person's not very good, but they don't really see the classroom because they can only come in there every once in a while. So I always, I manage some of the work experience stuff, and I call it my minor league program. I bring teachers in through there because really there's not much teaching. You're just going out to the job site and checking on people, but you have all the work of a real fledged teacher. So learn the system. They learn what we call is our, colleague. It's gone from PeopleSoft to colleague to something else. That's how we manage our students, to our early alert systems, to how grades go. And when you turn in, so when a person comes through our work experience as a teacher, they're going to know everything about the backside managing that my administration really wants. So you need to know that right away. And then all you have to worry about is going in and teaching your class. If you had to teach your class and learn all the stuff that we have that is totally different than a K-12 environment, and probably nowhere in the world does it exist except for in our little world, it would be hard. It'd be real hard. I don't know if you ever taught your first year. I mean, when I teach a first time online class, it's just like, okay, here we go. I'm going to try to do my best, but I usually find out 2 weeks in advance, and it's like, okay. And then the second semester, you find out, okay, this class is going to stick around. I'm going to keep teaching it. So then you really pour yourself into it. And gosh, I'd be overwhelmed right now if I had to start teaching some of my subject matter and then learn all our back end system.
Yeah.
And you're inundated with emails. I didn't realize it because I grew up in this, but Ben Bohan is a student that I had his dad. His dad was my coach way a long time ago, and I went to school with his brother. His son, Ben, Jack's son, Chris, and then his son is Ben, and we just hired him, Ben, as our engineering teacher.
Oh, wow.
And I have a real soft spot for him because Mr. Bohan was a big deal in my life. And I talked with him, and he's like, man, this is overwhelming. And I said, what's the classes? He goes, I teach 5 different subjects, which is unusual because usually if you're a psych teacher or anybody else, you teach that one subject over and over. And by the second semester, you're totally bored. But he teaches 5 different classes all the time. And he's like, and I'm trying to do these early alerts and my email is killing me. What do I know? What do I do? I was like, I taught him how to filter emails in Outlook. I said, here's what's coming. This person's just advertising, meaning they want you to show up. That could be your advertising folder. This person, you put this person in your top level because this is serious, get you fired if you don't answer. And I didn't realize that, but email is totally overtaking their lives.
Yeah.
So that sounds like, I don't know if that was the reply you were looking for.
Hey, it's you're giving it to me straight, which is awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
This is so all my questions are done.
Okay.
So, but on Monday, I have the interview with College of Sequoias for the Dean of Student Services. This is my first, been through a lot of administrator interviews in the last little bit. It's funny, I haven't felt like that was my God was pushing me into that place. This is now my first of the college interviews, and I'd like to reach back out to Reedley College because I just got an email from them saying I didn't qualify for a director job there. But I think it was because when I applied, my master's wasn't completed in all my transcripts. And I think it was just an HR kind of paper screen.
Yep.
So I'm gonna call them today. I feel like this is kind of the doors that have been opened. I'm trying to be still. It's very hard for me and listen. What's your advice in that area?
First off, know their mission statement.
Okay.
You need to know their mission statement and all that stuff. Go through. It's on their website. In certain areas, you need to be able to. It really, if you do the research on the college and that's their mission statement, and there's a whole bunch of others, their philosophy and all this other stuff. If you can incorporate that and you know it, and you can in interviews you can talk about it. Everybody always goes, whoa. Every interview I go into and they're talking about our mission statement, and I know where you want to go because I looked at this and I did this. People are like, okay, let's just be prepared, because you don't mention it, they're going to catch you off guard and they're going to say, well, what do you think about that? Equity minded. Everything's about equity. Is this an interview or a paper screen? You probably made the top 8, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd be very sincere with everybody. of what you can do and what you can't do, because everybody's flying in these places promising the world, and we're just looking for some sincerity. Um, do you know our school system? You know, you've been around this area forever. You know what Visalia brings. You know what COS brings. It's been a staple. It's one of the best community colleges in the state of California. It's been listed in several magazines. I'd even really talk about that, the Visalia community. You know, one of my sons just finished his master's in critical thinking, and he's got a degree in mathematics. And, you know, he's looking, gosh, where do I want to teach? And Visalia was one of the first things I said, you know, go look into Visalia area. And I would talk about community. I would talk what you bring to the table on your connectivity, who you connect with, what contacts you have. And be quite honest, I might not know something, but I'll figure it out.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking equity and knowing their mission statement and everything on that. There's a thing called understand about accreditation. Every couple of years we go through accreditation, community college accreditation. Um, Usually administration, especially dean of, is that a dean of students? Dean of students is highly involved in that, and you're at a level, I hate to say it, you're at a level that's above counselors. Counselors are here. You're going to have deans of students and people underneath you, and then you'll be the director of dean or vice president.
Dean.
Dean. So you're the dean. So you're going to have a lot of layers below you. And some of the hands-on stuff you don't get to do, but I would look at the structure. I'd look at their admin organizational structure so that you're going to be aware of it, what you're responsible, because it's dean of students can encompass a lot, everything from DSPNS, which is our disabled service program, to veterans, to equity, to activities, to everything. You just need to see where you are going to be sitting so that you can answer those little areas that they're going to ask you about. And I think they should have an org chart on their website as well,
Yeah.
just so you walk in there totally ready to go, meaning that fact.
Okay. And I like what you said earlier, right? If our students need to know how to make decisions based on data,
Yes. Yes.
so do we.
Yeah. 100%. And you got to look at your data, and that's your data right now going in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and you got to see, you know, research on the president, research on the other deans, know what they want. Because eventually, if they say, here, Leslie, here's the job, there's certain places that I would probably interview if I was going to do something, but then I know the culture, and I probably would say, you know what, thank you, but I don't know if this is the right job for me. Can I think about it? Because it'll happen quick. That always does. So
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome. I'm going to stop recording, but it'll still be on.
Yeah.